need your help.
Be playing Roblox.
Roz asked the animals to collect anything useful they could find: large stones, strong branches, chunks of frozen mud. With the robots' building expertise and a small army of helpers, construction of the second lodge didn't take long. The animals happily agreed to the robots' truce, and then they shuffled into the warm wooden dome. If you keep the fire alive, it will keep you alive, explained Roz as she dropped another log onto the flames. But be careful, fire can turn deadly in an instant.
Yes, you can.
At dawn, heavy snow was falling again, and there was Roz, setting out from the nest to build a third lodge. She trudged into the great meadow where fierce winds had created enormous sweeping snowdrifts. But she powered through and finished the job, and was soon beginning work on a fourth lodge, and then a fifth. The island became dotted with lodges that all glowed warmly through those long winter nights. And inside each one, animals laughed and shared stories and cheered their good friend Roz. Oh, it was the new lodges, not lodgers.
What? Actually, guys, I think you're done watching me play this game. I'll play it later when I get like when I get 300 subscribers.
The fire. The fire. Strange sounds were echoing from the far side of the pond. What started as a low murmur gradually swelled to a chorus of terrified voices. There was an eerie glow in that part of the forest, and a thick plume of smoke began rising up from the snowy treetops. Roz charged across the ice and found the second lodge completely engulfed by a raging fire. Frightened animals were running in every direction, fleeing for their lives through the deep snow. What happened? Shouted Roz as Broadfoot galloped wildly past. We put too many logs in the fire pit, he said, without stopping. The flames climbed up to the ceiling. My baby is still in there.
Who's baby? Who's baby?
Another hand, pointing at the burning lodge. Somebody help, please. Roz didn't hesitate. She plowed through the snow and ducked into the lodge. Flames and smoke were everywhere. A tall stack of logs blazed in the fire pit, and in the far corner, a tiny bottle of fur was shaking with fear. Crouching low, the robot wound her way beneath the smoke and around the flames and gently scooped up her young hair. Do not worry, Roz yelled over the roar of the fire. You are going to be okay. She turned to leave, but the doorway had started to crumble, so she shielded the hair with her body and smashed through the walls of the lodge. Sizzling pieces of wood went flying as the robot and the hair burst outside into the soft snow. Oh, darling, you're all right, cried the mother hare, pulling her daughter close. Thank you for saving my baby, Roz. Now that everyone was safely away, the robot turned her attention to putting out the fire. Her glowing eyes darted around as she computed a plan. Then, with all the strength in her legs, Roz launched herself high up into the snowy branches of the nearest pine tree. A moment later, the tree was shaking violently, and heaps of snow were sliding from its branches and pouring onto the flames like an avalanche. Steam hissed up through the smothering mound of snow. The flames quickly died. The snow quickly melted, and within minutes all that remained was the charred foundation of the lodge. Roz dropped down from the tree and waited as the frightened animals slowly returned. Then she said to them, Would you like another lodge? The animals looked at one another, unsure of what to do. Understandably, they were afraid of another fire breaking out, but they were far more afraid of the deadly cold. So they pulled together and worked with Roz and built a bigger, better lodge on top of the old one. It had a taller ceiling and a deeper fire pit. It was made with more rock and less wood, and it had a supply of water for emergencies. But the most important safety feature of this rebuilt lodge were the lodgers themselves, who now had a whole new respect for fire. The conversations. Thanks to Roz's truce, life inside the nest was mostly harmonious. But when the animals went outside, it was business as usual. Sometimes the lodger wouldn't return. Sometimes the lodger would return in the belly of another lodger. As you can imagine, that made for some awkward moments. So when everyone was gathered around the fire, they tried to keep things pleasant by having conversations like these. I wonder what Bright Bill is doing right now, Chit-Chat lay on her back and looked at the ceiling as she spoke. And where he is and who he's with, and if he ever thinks about us back here on the island. I'm sure he thinks about us, said Roz. I think about him all the time. I like to imagine that the geese had a fun flight to the wintering grounds, and now Bright Bill is floating on a lovely lake eating yummy food and making wonderful new friends. But hopefully they're not too wonderful, because I'd like to stay his best friend if possible. That is a nice thought, said Roz, but I worry that the flock might have gotten caught in this icy weather. I do not think they would handle it well. Don't worry, I'm sure they're fine, said Chit-Chat. Bright Bill is such a great flyer that I just know he'll keep the flock out of trouble. He is a great flyer, said Roz, but I still worry. Life is short, Dig Down the Old Groundhog was giving another one of her fireside speeches. I'll be lucky if I see the spring. I don't want your pity, I've had a good run, but I'll tell you what. If I could do it all over again, I'd spend more time helping others.
I died.
All I've ever done is dig tunnels. Some of them were real beauties too, but they're all hidden underground, where they're no good to anyone but me. And they weren't even good enough to me this winter. Now, the beavers, they have it all figured out. They built that beautiful dam, which created a lovely pond that made all our lives better. That must feel mighty good. The beavers made our lives better in another way, said Fink. They taught Roz how to build.
Can you watch one of my videos?
In a minute, we're almost done.
Okay.
Ain't that the truth, said Dig Down. Roz, you must have saved half the island with your lodges. And to think we used to call you a monster. I'll repay my debt to you if it's the last thing I do. Your friendship is payment enough, said Roz. Oh, please. Your sweetness is going to make me sick. There must be something we can do. Your friendship really is enough. Friends help each other, and I will need all the help I can get. My mind is strong, but I want to survive as long as possible. And to do that, I will need the help of my friends. The animals listened quietly to Roz and thought of their own struggles to survive. Life in the wilderness was hard for everyone, but there was no escaping that fact. But the robot had made their lives a little easier, and if ever they could, the animals would return the favor. I've seen 93 winners, far more than any of you, cried the turtle snake slowly. But everyone always listened to his words. And
It says $1.
And I can tell you that the winters have gotten colder, and the summers have gotten hotter, and the storms have gotten fiercer.
Mom, when you get money, and this is only for maybe. When you get money, I can buy my own robots.
I heard that the ocean has gotten higher, said Chit-Chat. Maybe, but I don't see how that could be true. I mean, where did all that extra water come from? You were right, the ocean is higher, said Crag. My grandfather used to say that long ago, this island was not an island at all. It was a mountain surrounded by flatlands. And then the ground shook, and the oceans grew, and the land slowly flooded until the mountain became this island. Animals from far and wide were forced to come here to escape the floodwaters. In those early days, there were too many animals living in too small a place. The island did not have enough food to feed them all. But between fighting and disease and famine, A balance was finally reached, and we've kept the balance ever since. Chit Chat's eyes grew wide with concern. If the ocean keeps rising, the island will be swallowed up by the waves, and I don't even know how to swim. If the waves ever do swallow this island, it will not happen for a very long time, said Crag. But then we will all be long dead, even me. Everyone has a purpose. It was Swooper's turn to lecture the lodgers. The sun is meant to give light. Plants are meant to grow. We owls are meant to hunt. We mice are meant to hide. We raccoons are meant to scavenge. Roz, what are you meant to do? I do not believe I have a purpose. Ha! I respectfully disagree, said Super. Clearly, you are meant to build. I think Roz is meant to grow gardens. Roz is definitely meant to care for Brightbow. Dripping water, flowing water, Nature's making a snow was finally beginning to melt. But it was fading away to expose the lakes and grounds that had been beneath. Many birds were appearing all over. Clouds of bright flowers turned to darkness. Clouds of white flowers were rising up from the dirt, and soon the island would be bursting with rich scents and colors. At long last, it was spring. The lodgers returned to their own homes. The hibernator's emerged from their secret places. Roz roamed across the island and checked in with the beavers and the birds and all their friends shook nest. Then the robot went home to work in the garden. After the bitterest winter anyone could recall, life was slowly returning to normal. However, it was a quiet spring. There were fewer insects buzzing, fewer birds singing, fewer rodents rustling. Many creatures had frozen to death over the land. And as the last of the snow melted away, their corpses were slowly revealed. The world must really can be ugly sometimes, but from the ugliness came beauty. You see, those poor dead creatures returned to the earth. Their bodies nourished the soil, and they had created the most dazzling spring bloom the island had ever known. Almost done. He's got my tail. Paddler was flashing and screaming in the pond. So Roz picked up a fallen tree branch and stomped into the shallows. "What is this?" she said as she reached out with the branch. Paddler grabbed it with his big teeth, and the robot lifted him up out of the water. And there, hanging from the young beaver's tail, was Rockmouth, the grumpy old pike. In one quick movement, Roz pulled in the branch and gripped the fish with her 2 hands. Paddler flopped into the water, but his parents suddenly appeared. "What is wrong with you, Rockmouth?" Mrs. Beaver dragged her son away. "You've always been a nuisance, but this time you've gone too far. Do us all a favor, Roz, and toss into the vultures." "I cannot do that," said the robot, "but I might be able to help." Roz placed Rockmouth in a deep puddle near the pond where he couldn't swim away. Then she waited for the fish to explain himself. Fish aren't very talkative, especially grumpy fish like Rockmouth. But eventually he opened up to the robot, and before long, she was waiting for the beavers to join them. "Rockmouth used to live in the river," said Roz as the beavers came over. "But you trapped him here when you built your dam. He has been angry about it ever since." "That doesn't give him the right to attack my son," hollered Mr. Beaver. "It most certainly does not," hollered Mrs. Beaver. "I'd be upset too," said Paddler softly. "I'd hate to be kept away from my home. Mr. Rockmouth, you should have said something sooner." The fish looked up from the puddle with a frustrated expression that meant,
I did it! I completed the challenge!
The fish looked up from the puddle with a frustrated expression that meant, "I tried, but no one was listening." Well, the situation had to be remedied, and you can guess who rose to the occasion. Roz was determined to get Rockmouth back to his home. After she explored the nearby waterways, it became clear that she would have to carry the pipe through the forest and across the great meadow to the nearest bend in the river.
Am I going to go to school today?
Yes.
And Mommy, you know the Kitty Tongs and Squid Game? I completed it.
Good job. I need a large container, said Roz to the beavers. Something I can fill with water so Rockmouth can breathe while I carry him home. I can make it myself, but I thought you might like to help. It couldn't have been easy to overcome her anger with Rockmouth, but after Mrs. Beaver had a chance to cool
Okay,
off, she
this one
finally
and
came
I'm
around.
done.
I suppose we're partly to blame
Okay,
for this
bye,
whole
guys.
situation.